Good morning, guys. Happy Thursday. Cheers. Just finishing up my second cup of coffee really quick. So don't mind me as I spill it everywhere, but good morning. Happy Thursday. I know I'm a little bit behind from 11 a.m., but I'm here. I was just finalizing some things on this topic because I thought, dang, this topic's going to be a really good one and hopefully super helpful for a lot of buyers and sellers too, because it's going to help you kind of get in the mindset of what to be looking for when you have an offer. So, hey Marissa, I saw you just jumped on. Thanks for joining us. I see a few of you are jumping on. So I'm going to introduce myself because I feel like I haven't done that in a while. I'm Mariana Pearson. I own Modern Nest Real Estate Group, this page that you're following. I am a real estate agent here in the DFW, Texas area. So if I don't know you, please comment, say hi, let me know where you're coming from. I always love to see who's watching and where you guys are watching from. Hey Tammy, I see that you're popping on as well. So I'm gonna take a second and we'll get started in today's topic for this week here shortly. So, but before I do that, so I said that I wanted to do a quick shout out every week to make sure I'm just shouting out to people who are maybe first time home buyers or something exciting happened this week. Just kind of share some love to you guys before I get into the nitty gritty of all the business. So this week, I really just want to shout out to all my friends and family who have referred me business recently. I sat down and I was thinking about it, and I know I show up on social media a lot and I show up in different ways. And so a lot of you guys, my friends and family, of course, know that I'm in real estate. But what most of you may not know is that I am a referral-based business, which means that I'm powered and generated. My business is dependent on people who refer me to their friends or family, coworkers, anybody that they know who's also looking to buy or sell a house. And so I just want to shout out to you guys because y'all have been showing up so awesome lately. Right now we have 9 things under contract. I have 9 things under contract, which is awesome. And it's like all because of you guys, like the referrals that I'm getting from y'all, past clients are coming to me. So just doing really well, but it's because of y'all. So I just want to say thank you again for thinking of me anytime that you guys are looking to buy or sell real estate, especially in DFW. Please keep me in mind. And even if you don't live in the DFW area, I actually had this question come up from a family member out of state. They were like, how can you help me with buying or selling a house if I'm in a different state? And so we can absolutely get you in contact with someone, even if you're not in our area that we service. If you're in a different state, we're even worldwide. So we've got offices, Keller Williams offices in different countries too. So we are the world's largest real estate company. So if you do have a need for buying or selling a house and you're not in DFW, still reach out to me. I can do my part to help you with interviewing agents in that area, connecting you with an agent who can help service you the best, since I kind of know what to ask and not to ask and all those different things. So just let me know if there's anything I can do for you guys. So again, a shout out to all of y'all for thinking of me, referring me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because it has been awesome and I just love you guys. So thanks again. All right, so if you guys haven't caught on, this month is really dedicated to me diving into what it's like to buy in a competitive market. Now, I think this is also beneficial for sellers because you do know that we are in a seller's market right now. So I think it's still beneficial that sellers know about us being in a competitive market for buyers. So when you're looking at offers or you're on the market, you know kind of idea what the market's doing. So my goal for today is to cover some of the main reasons why a seller wouldn't accept your offer. Particularly if you're in a multiple offer situation and you're up against other offers, why it's important that you do some of these tips that I'm talking about today. Or even if you are the only offer that's being presented to the sellers, sometimes the seller will reject the offer for maybe some of the reasons that I'm talking about today. And I think you're going to be a little surprised because not everything on here that I'm talking about has to do with price. Because price, yes, although that is important usually to the sellers making the most for their house, it's not always the end all. I have told my buyers and sellers multiple times that I have had offers win because of different reasons and they were not necessarily the highest price. So yes, price is important, but it is not the end all, so just keep that in mind. And really, I just want to be using this platform, like I've said before, just to educate you guys. So this is a great topic for if you're in the market right now, currently up against multiple offers, and you're buying, or again, if you're a seller and you're about to list your home and you want to kind of know what should I be looking for when I accept an offer. So let's go ahead and dive into the good stuff. So, well, let me back up for one sec. The reason I thought about this topic is I actually, in this market, have had buyers who have won in, I've helped several win in multiple offer situations. One in particular had 12 offers and we ended up winning the offer. So we were, you know, the highest and best, but again, there were different things that we had in terms of the offer that wasn't necessarily maybe just price. But I also, on the flip side, represented a seller who at the beginning of this month put their house on the market. They had 10 offers. And so as I was looking through the multiple offers, it made me realize we did not choose the highest price at that time. And I'll talk to you a little bit about why we didn't here in a minute. But a lot of the sellers or buyers were surprised that we didn't choose their offer because of the price. And when I was explaining to them why we didn't choose their offer and we decided to go with a different offer, it really was one of those things that it didn't necessarily have to do with price as it did that it fit what the seller was looking for, because that is super important. So hi, Michelle, I see you are on. Welcome. I've got a cat in here who I feel like is about to jump on me. So sorry about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this topic for today. So the top reasons why the seller didn't take your offer. So the very first thing that I want to talk about is you didn't do your research. So number one reason why the seller didn't choose, yeah, I see you're laughing at Phoebe, didn't choose your offers, you didn't do your research. And what I mean by that is you didn't ask the right questions when you decided to make the offer. So like I mentioned before, price doesn't mean that's the most important thing to the seller. So asking the questions of, does your seller have a particular closing date? Do they need a lease back, meaning that they're going to rent the home back from you after closing? What supporting documents do you have? So when I go, as soon as a buyer says they want to make an offer on a property, I immediately call the listing agent and I ask them, you know, the key questions. I always ask, are you guys working any offers? If it's yes, I need to know what the deadline, what that looks like, to make sure that we're submitting the offer in the correct, you know, time period. I'm also asking if it's not on the MLS, do they have like the seller's disclosure? Do they have the survey? That's really important because you want to make sure that you're checking the correct boxes in the offer when you're presenting it. Does the seller need a lease back? So that was something that was really important to my sellers that I mentioned had 10 offers. The offer we ended up choosing actually was able to give them up to a month lease back for free to where they could stay in the house up to a month after closing. And we also I also recently had that happen on the buy side where we were in multiple offers and my buyers were able to give them a month free lease back to stay in their home so they could find their next house. So that I feel like is super important to a seller, especially if they're needing to find the next situation or figure out what their situation looks like to find the next property. Having that flexibility for that seller is really important. And then, you know, what else is important to the seller? I always ask that. What else? What else are have you guys talked about that I need to include in this offer? And you'd be really surprised when you ask that, or when the agent asks that to the co-agent, they will tell you, you know, they really are looking for a shorter option period, or they want more option money down. So whatever's important to them, making sure that you're accommodating as best as possible, so when you are in a multiple offer situation, you know what they're going to be looking for. So number one, again, was do your research. So, or the reason your offer didn't get picked is because you didn't do your research, right? So make sure you're asking those questions. All right, number two, the number two reason why your offer didn't get picked is you raised some red flags from the get-go. So maybe you were asking a lot of questions before you even wrote the offer. Maybe you were asking, too much in contingencies. Maybe you were asking for repairs to be done. Sometimes I have where the buyers, for example, maybe the wine fridge is clearly put in there as something that's not included with the sale of the house, but the buyer is really adamant about wanting that wine fridge. And so little things like that can be a turn off to the sellers. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're in a multiple offer situation. Most likely the other buyers aren't going to be asking for those types of things. They're not going to be so adamant about the wine fridge when they clearly stated it wasn't included. So making sure that that's not a deal breaker for when you're making an offer. When it comes to asking questions about the property, of course, I can ask all the questions on how old is the roof, how old is the HVAC system, how old is the water heater, has there been any foundation? Usually I can get those types of questions answered while we're looking through the house or anything else. But if there are multiple offers and we are on a deadline to present an offer at a certain point, just keep in mind that you do still have an option period, and that is really the best time to ask those types of questions. So unless I can get them immediately for you while we're walking through, I usually tell my buyers, go ahead and create that list of questions that you have, and while we are in the option period, that's when I'm going to go ahead and send an email to ask all those questions. Again, I tell my buyers to wait for that time period to ask them, because I don't want it to seem like my buyers are difficult to work with or going to have a lot of questions before they even present an offer. So just keep that in mind, especially if there are multiple offers. Your sellers, or the sellers and the listing agent, are probably a little overwhelmed with the amount of response that they're getting. That means there's probably a lot of showings going on. So sellers are having to leave their house. So they're probably crazy busy with life and selling their house and dealing with multiple offers, that we just want to make it easier on them and wait to get those questions answered until the option period. So that's my tip there. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is you didn't offer your highest and best. So you probably have heard the term highest and best before. I know if you've worked with me, we'll talk about that. When we are in a multiple offer situation, they will ask for you to present highest and best, usually by a certain time period. What that means exactly to you is it doesn't necessarily mean that you overpay for the property. I just want to be clear on that. But really what it means is, at this point, it's my job to do my due diligence and to look up comps and to see what price, where the price is currently at, and making sure, that we determine what is too much to offer versus where do you feel comfortable offering. So making sure that you're not overpaying, making sure that you still feel comfortable with a price point or an offer price, and that it's going to work for your budget. But also keeping in mind what the comps are telling us and what others probably are going to offer. Now, when we offer highest and best and we're in multiple offers, I don't know what the other offers are. I don't know what price they're at. Sometimes I don't even know how many offers there are. It is all up to the sellers and the listing agent what they disclose when it comes to those things. And really the listing agent isn't allowed to disclose what the other offers are without disclosing it to everybody. So just know that I won't know that kind of information, but our job is to submit the highest and best. So when you present the offer and we get a response, if it is a no, you know that you truly gave your highest and best, and you don't feel bad about what you offered. You don't come back and say, oh man, I wish I would have gone up, $500 more or $1,000 more. There isn't time for us to wait for them because they're not going to come back and counter. So there's no time for us to wait. It's truly giving your highest and best at that point. So just making sure that you feel comfortable with it and aren't overpaying. And also the topic on this, this kind of does have to do with price. So the 10 offers that we actually received on the listing, one of the reasons we didn't go with the highest price, there was actually, I think there was 4 different offers that had a higher price point, but the terms that they were, these other offers were asking for, who pays for title, who pays for a home warranty, how much they were asking seller concessions, different things like that to determine it. But what we also kept in mind when we were looking at the offers is the home still has to appraise. So you can't just offer $20,000 over the list price or the comps and expect to get an executed contract. It still has to appraise for whatever value you are offering, or you have to be able to bring up the difference, or you have to be willing to say, you know, I'm willing to do this amount over the appraisal amount up to this price. So there's different reasons, like I said, with price, that necessarily wouldn't mean that you get accepted. It does still have to appraise. So that is one of the reasons why we didn't accept some of the offers that were way over what we were expecting it to price for. Luckily, it did appraise for the price point that we are currently under contract for, because I did feel a little bit better that it would appraise at that price, which is one of the reasons we chose that offer. So just keep that in mind, that when it comes to price, it still has to appraise. So you do have to keep that in mind, and the sellers will be thinking about that, or the listing agent should be thinking about that when they accept an offer. Okay, number 4, your option money was too low. So option money is such a great way to show the seller how serious you are about this home. So earnest money is a little bit different. That's held in escrow at title. And so if you do decide to back out during the option period, you get that escrow or you get that earnest money back. The option money, however, goes to the sellers. And if you do decide to back out during the option period, you forfeit that option money to the sellers. And so the reason it's so important to focus on how much you put down in option is because that is money that you could potentially lose or forfeit to the sellers. So I do think it's important that you put a stronger amount down when you are in a multiple offer situation. When I go back to those 10 offers I was talking about, a lot of the buyers were still putting only $100 down, and they were asking for a longer option period. The one that we actually accepted, they were putting $500 down and only asked for a 5-day option period. So what that told me, actually I think it was 3-day option period, so it was even stronger. So what that told me is these buyers are serious. They are willing to put more money down and to lose more money if they decided to back out. But what that really told me is they're already in their head thinking they're not going to back out unless something super crazy came up on the inspection that was just something that any buyer would see as a huge issue. They were less likely to back out during that option period because they were already putting so much more down in option. So it is really important to talk about that, and also consider the length or the period of time that you have for an option period. 3 days was something that actually was like, I don't know if that's enough time for them to get an inspector out and for them to feel good about moving forward, but that agent was on top of it. That inspection was ordered like 2 hours after we executed the contract, and it was the next day. So she knew what she was doing, which really helped us feel better about it as well. So just make sure that you're keeping in mind the option money amount and how many days you're actually asking for the option period, because it does really show how serious you are about the house. All right, number 5, this is the last one. So the number 5 reason why a seller may not have accepted your offer is you didn't support your offer so the sellers feel good about it. So what I mean by that is you didn't include a pre-qual letter. We've talked about how important that is in other episodes. You can go as far as, I have my lender, if we're in a multiple offer situation, reach out to the listing agent and say, look, I'm the lender on this for this borrower. Everything I've looked at looks great. Of course, they can't disclose every detail about your loan, but just having a lender reach out to the listing agent to give them a good feel and let them know, hey, I'm going to be in contact along the way, really helps make your offer stand out. Side note, when it comes to a lender, it is so important too. One of the things that we look for on the listing side is who you're using for a lender. So typically, we just know in this industry, and I've told I tell my buyers this all the time, when it comes to bigger banks like Chase or Wells Fargo, even though, yes, they are great to refinance with or to ultimately hold your loan or any kind of other loan, but when it comes to mortgage loans, we just know that it's kind of like an industry standard that bigger banks, unfortunately, just take a little bit longer to close on the loan. Now, that's not necessarily to say that it always happens that way. So if you work for a bigger bank, I'm not saying that, but we do know that it can take a little bit longer because there's more hands that have to touch the file. And so the communication's a little bit slower, and they do have more loans that they're processing, so they do need a little more time to process the loan. So back to the 10 offers that we had for my sellers. One of the reasons we didn't choose one of the offers, even though it was similar in price and very similar in terms, is they were actually using a bigger bank, but they were asking for 14 days more than the other offer that we chose for a financing contingency, meaning they were asking for 14 more days to get approval for their loan than the offer that we chose. So that was a turnoff for us. I even told the listing or the buyer's agent, hey, just so you know, here's one of the reasons why we didn't choose your offer. She understood. She said they are open to using a mortgage company, so I'm going to get in contact, make sure that they start talking to the mortgage lender that I recommend. That way, when they go in to make their next offer, that's not one of the reasons why their offer was rejected. So again, I'm not saying that means working with a big bank is going to be the biggest issue. I've serviced and I have closed transactions where they are working with a bigger bank. But if you are up against multiple offers and you have the option or the ability and you are willing to work with a mortgage lender, it is advised to do that, just because we do know that they can get them serviced and closed just a little bit quicker and a lot easier. So just keep that in mind. Another way that you can be supporting your offer is, sorry, my cat's making noises, is writing a love letter. So I don't always encourage a love letter just because I do try to make sure, it is good if you choose that you want to do it. It's up to you. It kind of adds some emotional parts to, the transaction and lets the sellers know you a little bit more and why you're buying the house. But we do have to be careful that we aren't swaying a seller to buy a house just because, your family, or because they enjoy that you also went to the same college as them. So there are some ways that we can try to get them to help know you without over swaying them just because of that. And it doesn't really hurt to put in a love letter, but just keep in mind that it does open up a whole nother level of emotions when you go to write that offer or write that love letter and send the offer. If your offer's not accepted, you've already kind of written down kind of a love letter to a boyfriend and then got broken up with. And so sometimes it does come back and it's not always the best situation, but if you understand that it's something that you can do, go ahead and do it. It doesn't hurt usually. All right, and then the last part of this is make sure you're including, like I said, any attached documents that need to go with the contract. So a signed seller's disclosure, the survey, make sure that the contract is filled out correctly and you've asked all your questions, like I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, to make sure the contract is correct. Hey, stop it. Sorry. All right, so let's recap really quick on why the sellers didn't accept your offer. So number one is you didn't do your research, so know the seller's goal before you write the offer. Number two, you raised some red flags from the beginning. So what I mean by that is don't be difficult with your offer. Stick with the most important parts so you're not asking for all the shiny objects and getting distracted from the actual house itself. Number three, you didn't offer your highest and best from the get-go. Number four, your option money was too low. And number five, you didn't support your offer so the sellers feel really good about it. So that's what I have for today, guys. Those are hopefully some helpful tips for y'all. So when you are writing an offer and you're talking to your agent, make sure you're bringing those up. And if you're on the reverse side as a seller, you can absolutely be looking out for these things when you are in a multiple offer situation. And just wanted to remind you guys, I do have tons of freebies. One of the freebies that we are giving away is an offer checklist. And so if you are wanting that offer checklist, it's just some tips on what you could be doing to make your offer stronger and better. Please let me know. You can send me a direct message or comment below with your email and I will send that over to you guys. I guess she wanted to say hi. She finally jumped up here. So here is my cat. This is Phoebe, like from Friends. So hi, tell everyone hello. Yes, okay. Sorry, now I've got hair all over me and I've got an appointment after this. All right, guys, that is all I have for today. Hopefully you guys have an awesome Thursday, an awesome weekend. If there's anything else I can do for y'all, please don't hesitate to reach out. I always love hearing from you guys. And if you guys have any topic ideas, I've got the next few months or the next few weeks planned out already. But if you have any topic ideas or questions that you want me to turn into a topic and discuss some more, please let me know. Give me a little bit of time to research and prep, but I am more than happy to do that. So have an awesome Thursday. I'll see you guys next week.